problems in action. Okay, please. Welcome to the business session after this marvelous session for the children that I think all we have enjoyed and we have reflected deeply. This is a hearing session at the beginning, and when we come to consensus, then we move to decision making and action. Before we come to the business, the General Secretary wants to say something. Please.
Thank you, Moderator. We also have, in the many plenaries, we have different inputs. And after the plenary yesterday, I've been asked by several of you about how to understand the contribution from Rabbi Sandmel in this context. And I will offer the following comments. To my great surprise, Rabbi Sandmel, who has been involved in dialogue and also cooperation with the World Council of Churches and myself at many occasions, in a very fruitful and trustful way, surprisingly used this opportunity to express critique not only against the WCC and its work, but also against some of our most vulnerable communities, the Palestinian community, and the theological reflection on justice and peace in their context, as a way to understand and describe the awful and condemnable expressions of anti-Semitic violence in Europe and other places today. I told him after the session how disappointed I was that he used this opportunity for what I found more to be propaganda than really a contribution to our reflection. And I want to share with you also that this was a total surprise to me based on our experience, and that we are not against critique or a critical reflection, but this was not what was proper in my view in the session of discussing violence and religion today. And he even not mentioned the problems, how religion is used, for example, by Christian Zionism to legitimize the structural violence in the occupation of the Palestinian territories. We have to continue to learn from this experience and also to find the ways we continue our dialogue with our Jewish partners, and also how we in our public issue statements, for example, today, express clearly our commitment to justice and peace.
Yes, Dr. Covers.
Thank you, Your Eminence. And I have to thank the General Secretary for this small introduction, in which I consider it, as a medical doctor, as a palliative treatment and not a radical treatment. Unfortunately, our floor was used to humiliate our faith, Christianity. I am not speaking on ethnical basis, nor as a Palestinian. I am speaking as an Orthodox and Christian, in which I completely disagree that in our house, our faith will be challenged. This is the most important time, and I don't think that this is the first trial in which somebody have tried to do that. We had the same issue on an executive committee in Cyprus with a statement which was not signed by anybody but came from staff, in which the executive committee rejected it according to the implementation, which was very near to what yesterday was said. I am a Semitic person. We are the indigenous Semitisms in the region and not the Jewish people only. So I think that to treat this radically, our General Secretary has to take a concrete actions on the in-house problems, which most probably is having and opening doors with those who are well known as the rightist organization of Judaism. In the Palestine Kairos document, we had more than 12 rabbis in which they supported that document in launching it in Bethlehem. I was present at that time. There are many other organizations than the ADL, which is the most rightist anti-Semitic organization all over the world. So I have to thank again our General Secretary that he clarified this issue, but it will continue to remain a trauma inside ourselves as Christians and as Palestinians at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kavas. Who has asked the floor? Microphone 2.
Peter Colwell, Churches Together in Britain and Ireland, speaking in English. I first of all want to say that I thought that the session on religion and violence was absolutely excellent and often quite moving in many of the things that were said, both by the speakers and by those that shared from the floor. So I think I'd like to thank the Central Committee for making time for that. In relation to the specific issues raised by the General Secretary, I think that it's also a matter of enormous credit that the Central Committee not only had an intra-Christian conversation, but also was willing to take a big risk, actually, in hearing the perspectives of a Muslim and a Jew. And I think great credit is deserved in that. I realised that for many, that was quite, particularly Rabbi David's contribution, was very difficult to hear. But I hope that we will continue to, as Christians, engage with mainstream Jewish and mainstream Muslim points of view as we seek to work together for a more just world. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I don't understand. Now what will happen? We open a discussion of that? I think we have to close. Okay, the two last, please be brief. Metropolitan.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Yes, Mataroha. For me, I see that bringing both Al-Sanusi from the Muslim community and Rabbi David from the Jewish community, it was a very good idea, although we might differ from them in many ways, but it's good to hear their point of views, and then we have to reflect on it and see how do people look at us in different ways. And for example, if you have brought somebody else, not Al-Sanusi, from the extremist line, you might not have been happy at all with what he have said, because we have two different, in Islam itself, different views, as well as in Christianity and Judaism. So we have to hear each other to understand each other on a larger scale. Thank you.
Thank you, Metropolitan. Metropolitan Seraphim, please.
I don't like speaking, but I have to give my witness to congratulate WCC that they came out with a clear statement when they blocked some members of the WCC to speak there, to go into the country to speak of the protection of the human rights. Unfortunately, some years ago when Your Eminence, you came there on behalf of the WCC and me on behalf of the All Africa Conference of Churches, they did the same things. They blocked us to speak to the people, and we kept silence. We followed the instructions of the political leaders not to say anything. WCC has to speak freely. The problem is that they shot one youth Palestinian, and he was ready to die. And one Israeli soldier starting again shooting at him. And then when
and was read in the plenary session before the end of the synod. Several members, Orthodox members of the Central Committee participated and were not with us. This we have realized in the roll call at the beginning. Within them was Metropolitan Nifon, Metropolitan Seraphim, Bishop Irinei, which is also absent, Metropolitan Vasili of Cyprus, and many others who are not present. And will be very interesting for us, for a few minutes, Metropolitan Nifon to share with us a little information. How was the council, and in which way took place in the island of Crete? Metropolitan, you have the floor. Will be also a briefing during the lunchtime. I think with this will be announcements for those that want to listen something more. Will be a tray lunch briefing with Metropolitan Seraphim and Metropolitan Nifon.
Thank you very much, moderator. Dear sisters and brothers, I am very happy that I am the one who is bringing good news from the Great and Holy Synod of the Orthodox Church to you. So I start with the assumption that many of you, or most of you, or some of you, have already been informed about it either through the electronic media or many other means. So that's why I will be very brief, a few minutes, at most 10 minutes, I was told. But however, allow me to share with you a few elements that could be useful for all of us. First of all, that from the Orthodox point of view, such a pan-Orthodox synod did not take place for almost 1,000 years. This is for the first time when such a synod takes place. It participated 165 bishops, plus 60 councillors, official councillors or advisors representing the churches, clergy and laymen. And of course, you've heard that 4 of the churches did not participate. That is the Patriarchate of Moscow, of Antioch, Patriarchate of Bulgaria and Georgia. They have their own reasons of being absent. But the point is that all of them participated in the whole process of preparation of the Holy and Great Synod. So the question is that it's very important indeed to see what are the main themes or issues dealt with by the Synod. And this is very important to know that the 6 issues or themes were prepared for a long period of time, and they were approved as being on the agenda of the Synod by the synaxes of the primates of all the Orthodox churches in 2014 in Constantinople, in 2016, this year in January. So the themes are these. First of all is the mission of the church in the contemporary world. But I would like, nevertheless, to start by saying that yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all these documents, 6 documents, official papers of the Synod, were signed by all the participants, plus the synodal encyclica, and the last one, the message to the Orthodox faithful and to the world. So there are 8 documents that were signed yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So last night, all the documents were put on the sites. And from the beginning, I would like to inform you that there is the official site of the Council, holycouncil.org, where you can find all these documents and I wish that most of you, or all of you, or those who like, should read the documents whenever you like. However, it's good to inform you that the mission of the Church in the contemporary world contains some chapters that are of utmost importance for all of us. First of all, dignity of the human person, freedom and responsibility. The Church in the face of the contemporary challenges of all sorts. So I don't want to continue to go into details, because this is the purpose of my information here, to say just the main elements. And then a special chapter about peace and justice is more or less on the same line which the World Council of Churches is going in general. Then the mission of the Orthodox Church as a witness of love through justice. So this is very important. I just mentioned that to create some sort of curiosity from your part, so to try to read it thoroughly. The second document is the Orthodox diaspora. It's very important for us, but you see, more than 25 million Orthodox are anywhere in the world which are not staying in the traditionally Orthodox countries. So that is a very important subject. So ecclesial landscape is changed because of that. So that's why it's very important to put some order in that. So the most important decision was taken concerning the Orthodox assemblies of bishops in various regions of the world. I don't go into details, I just mentioned the chapter. The third theme is the importance of fasting and its observations today. I would like to say that there are some flexibilities concerning the fasting for children, for youth, for the army, and so on. So we can notice that kind of flexibility. The fourth is autonomy given to local churches in various parts of the world by the mother churches as such, and methodology of proclaiming it. There are many cases, so this is an internal important problem in the Orthodox Church. The fifth is very important indeed. Family, marriage, and its impediments. Here again, the Council brought some sort of flexibility in the sense that because of diaspora, because of migration, and so on and so forth, there are many mixed marriages. So the Council approved a kind of increased flexibility in order to allow the non-Orthodox, you see, to marry Orthodox in a very, let's say, loving and convenient way. So the local Orthodox Church, the local Orthodox churches, through their synods, then delegation to the local bishop, should be careful and treat cases in a very pastoral way. So in other words, the rule is kept, but some flexibility is given there. So this is, again, good news. Now, I would like to come to the very good news. That is the sixth document, which was approved and signed yesterday in a very friendly atmosphere. The relationship of the Orthodox Church with the Christian world, churches and confessions. Here, it's very important that a document, I don't enter into details, but they were very lively, lovely, and interesting discussions of all sorts. So it would have been a very boring synod if those discussions didn't take place. So it did take place. We don't go into details, but the point is that it is a splendid document which only, for example, the World Council of Churches is described in a positive way in not less than 6 paragraphs in the document. So please go and read it, because the Toronto Statement is there in a lengthy way described. And secondly, the necessity of having theological dialogues, to continue the theological dialogues, but with one condition: to have an evaluation, a sort of periodical evaluation of the theological dialogues, because many dialogues take place and then the churches forget in a way or another about them. So the news in terms of decision of this council is that to have periodical evaluations so that we could see that the dialogues, bilateral and multilateral, are of certain use in serving the Christian unity. Here again, I don't go into details. But what is important is that the council, the Orthodox Council, gives importance to the Faith and Order Commission and encourages the Commission to go on with its work, which is much appreciated. There are nuances, but I don't go into details of nuances. What I could say, it seems that I still have 3 more minutes. So we have the 7th document. That is the synodal encyclica to the Orthodox faithful and to the world. This is, again, very, very important, because the encyclica have many chapters. First of all, it has 16 pages, you know. It's very important to know. And secondly, it's important to know the chapters. The Church, an image of the Holy Trinity as body of Christ. This is a purely theological, doctrinal point of view. And of course, the holiness of the Church and so on. Then the document deals in more details about the family, the image of Christ's love towards the Church, the mission of the Church in the world, the Church in the face of contemporary challenges, as I said before, and then it deals, this document, with all sorts of problems of our time: globalization, again, struggle for peace and justice, ecology, youth, and violence of all sorts in society and in various parts of the world. So in other words, this document is also very important, because in the encyclica, one mentions the duty of witness and dialoguing with the rest of the Christian confessions and churches, because this is very important. So again, it comes the duty of having such ecumenical dialogues. And finally, I will mention the message which was read, as His Eminence Gennadios mentioned, during the liturgy, broadcast live all over the world. The message, which it's very important in a more accessible language, which mentions again very many things. First of all, the unity of the Orthodox churches and the the struggle for Christian unity and unity in the world. So that is the main idea. Then, during the deliberations, the importance of the synaxis of the primates which had taken place was emphasized, and the proposal was made for the Holy and Great Synod to become regular institution every 7 or 10 years at the most. This is again a new important decision. So, what else? Because I still have 2 more minutes. The explosions of fundamentalism observed within various religions represent an expression of morbid religiosity. Pay attention, because these are very categorical expressions. Sober interreligious dialogue helps significantly to promote mutual trust, peace, and reconciliation, and that is developed properly in the text. Okay. And one more thing, and that is, the question is that there is a strong word for fundamentalists in our own church who are anti-ecumenical, but we say that attitudes should be condemned, because the only authority that can bring some orientation is in fact the conciliar process. That means synodal process, because otherwise, if everybody will try to be the judge of his brother or sister, it will be a disaster.
Thank you.
This is, and many others, but don't forget the official site of the Great and Holy Council. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Eminence. Fortunately, it was not in details. If it was in details, we can. Before we begin our work now, and the discussions and decisions, we have to take an action and approve the list of recorders. Please, could you have the names? You can see. Is Miss Selina Falk, Mrs. Roma Brodkamp, Reverend Sarah Rogers, Very Reverend Ray Costa, Mr. Thomas Kang, Mrs. Paula Dermatoya, and Dr. Andrei Yevtic. Could you stand, please, that people can see you? Thank you. There were only 2. Where are the others? All around. Thank you very much. Now, as I remind you in the beginning of this session, we move as a hearing session through the public issues reports, and if we'll be in consensus or in agreement, then we come to an action. Could you have all the copy which has Gen Pub 05, please? It's a package of all. And then we call now the rapporteurs of the Public Issue Committee, Reverend Dr. Sarah Rogers and Mr. Thomas Kang, to report for us.
Thank you, Moderator. Brothers and sisters, in the absence of the moderator of the Public Issues Committee, Bishop Samuel Azariah, Thomas and I thank you for the opportunity to present the Public Issues Report. Firstly, I would like to thank my colleagues on the Public Issues Committee for their hard work and ask them now to stand so that you can see who they are and acknowledge their work. Please stand, Public Issues. Thank you. You will note that we have already adopted the statement on Colombia, Gen Pub 5.2, and the resolution on the outcome of the Indigenous Peoples Conference, Gen Pub 5.3, at our session on Saturday. We will now present the remaining statements. Please note that in order to make the best use of time, we will not take them in the order that they're presented in the report. We're going to present the documents that need to be read for the first time first. But first of all, we will take the statement on the outcome of the UK referendum, which is Gen Pub 5.1, and Thomas is going to present that.
Morning. We shall proceed with the second reading of the statement on outcome of UK referendum on EU membership Brexit. Okay, now it's ready. The Central Committee of the World Council of Churches, WCC, meeting on 22 to 28 June 2016 in Trondheim, Norway, under the theme Pilgrimage, Discerning the Landscapes Together, received news of the outcome of the United Kingdom referendum on European Union membership as we began a discussion on the search for Christian unity. This decision by a majority of UK voters commits the country to ending its 43-year-long membership of the European Union. This presents a challenge to all European leaders and European institutions and has ramifications far beyond the region. During these days together in Trondheim, members of the Central Committee representing WCC member churches from around the world are reflecting and praying together to discern the path forward in this new landscape. The situation calls for wise and measured leadership in the UK, regionally and internationally, and ecumenical solidarity, respecting the democratic expression of the collective will of the people of the UK, and re-examining fundamental questions of values and identity. But it's clear that the UK cannot, by withdrawing from EU membership, isolate itself from the challenges facing the region and the world, including the refugee and migrant crisis, and that collective reflection and action will be no less necessary to address those challenges. The Conference of European Churches, as the leading regional expression of the ecumenical movement and of its calling to promote Christian unity in witness and action, we will have a special role to play in accompanying the churches and peoples of Europe in discerning the direction of the pilgrimage of justice and peace in this new landscape. We are concerned that rising xenophobic forms of nationalism threaten the common values of Europe. But we affirm the hope expressed by CEC President, Right Reverend Christopher Hill, KCVODD, that the churches will be able to revitalize a vision for Europe much broader than the mere economic, a vision informed by a Christian understanding of society which looks to the common good of all, supporting human rights and inclusive communities without collapsing into purely individualistic demands. All WCC member churches are invited to pray for God's guidance and wisdom for religious, political, and community leaders in the UK, in Europe, and around the world. As I finish the reading of the text, there is already a suggestion of changing, a very slight change in the third paragraph.
When we come to, you said that. We go now paragraph by paragraph.
Okay, good.
When we'll be in the third paragraph, then you make the change. Let's come at the beginning. Thank you for reading. First paragraph, there is any comment? No. The second? Your cards, please. So, Bishop, you want to speak? You want?
In the second paragraph, it's not the decision of the majority of UK voters. It's not the majority. It's just 51%. It's not majority.
It's a simple.
Yeah, but it's
That
majority.
would be a simple majority.
It's majority. Okay. The second paragraph is okay. The third paragraph. Your cards? Yes, please.
Moderator Jerry Pillay from South Africa. In the third paragraph, I would like to include a few words at the end of the paragraph.
After the challenges.
Yes. If we could include, just to start off from before that, and that collective reflection and action will be no less necessary.
Slowly, because you don't have this, the chart.
Okay, the
text, please.
And that collective reflection and action will be no less necessary to address those challenges in the interest of building human community. I think we were trying to reflect that, and we're saying that it's not just about Britain, it is about the world, and I think the inclusions, particularly of the words human community, says that.
let's see the text again, because now it's in the screen. In the interest of building human community. It's accepted? Your cards?
His Eminence.
Oh?
May I just add
Yes.
one? There was already a suggestion of change in exactly that sentence, but a little bit before, that rather than
Where?
a little bit before, so, but it's like in the middle of the paragraph it starts, but it's clear that the UK cannot, and isolate itself from the challenge facing the region and the world, including the situation of refugees and migrants.
The situation of refugees.
And migrants, and then crisis.
Okay, you delete the second refugee,
So that we don't blame the refugees or the migrants.
and you put also migrants, you put in plural. There's an S here.
The delete crisis.
And delete crisis, yes. Do you agree on that? Any comments on that?
Migrants, plural.
We said that, put an S. Okay. Now, Fernando.
Just one comment on this very point. Thank you very much, Thomas, for changing that. That's most appropriate. I was wondering if we should keep the word crisis, and that would read then including the political crisis, because this is what we are seeing at the moment in Europe, a political crisis to welcome refugees and migrants. Because the situation of refugees and migrants, that doesn't say too much. But the political crisis.
Including? What do you want to go down?
So the sentence would read, facing the region, so you start there, isolate itself from the challenges facing the region and the world, including the political crisis to welcome refugees and migrants.
Let's write down the political. Yes.
This would indicate that we are in a crisis to welcome refugees and migrants.
To welcome. It's already there. The refugees and migrants, huh? Okay, you delete the rest. Now, micro for the same?
No, it is.
Is another?
No, it's on 3.
Yeah, 3, but for the same.
No.
Fernando said. Eh?
It's for the same.
Yes, Anna, please.
Just a slight adjustment. Anne McCool, Church of Antioch. The political crisis is in receiving refugees and migrants, not welcoming. That's not the crisis.
Yeah, I think good. Including the political crisis in receiving refugees. You agree on that for in receiving? Let's see also the remark of Dr. Calvas.
No, it was on the first correction, and it's a question and not building human community. Are there communities which they are not human?
Where is that?
The last paragraph, the last line.
Interest of building human community.
Is there a community which is not human? I think another word of human must go here. I am not suggesting anything. But it does not
Sometimes
go-
a community should be unhuman, but you want to delete the human. Or change what? Huh? Building community. Building communities.
Moderator, Jerry Pillay responding. The word human is actually quite intentional because it is a matter of justice and it is a matter of participation. It is a matter of inclusion. There are many communities where people are not treated as humans. And so I think specifically to say human community gives that, and for me, it includes a little bit of a prophetic message which I think the church needs to offer.
Okay, I see that a lot of cards, positive cards, okay. Then how let's know the whole paragraph, particularly the second part. Where is the sentence, but it's clear. Could you read? From but.
From, sorry?
From the second part, but it is clear.
But it's clear.
Yeah, read the,
But it is clear that the UK cannot, by withdrawing from EU membership, isolate itself from the challenges faces the region and the world, including the political crisis in receiving refugees and migrants, and that collective reflection and action will be no less necessary to address those challenges in the interest of building human community.
Your card, please. Thank you. The next, the conference. Metropolitan Seraphim, please.
Thank you very much, Your Eminence Moderator. I have a citizenship of 2 members of the European Union, but I live in Africa. At the end of this paragraph, I like to add this sentence.
After demands.
Yes.
Yes.
The message of the referendum in UK to Brussels.
Slowly to type, because they type. Read it slowly.
The message of the referendum of UK in Brussels is, and to the member states, is to work for social solidarity and social justice.
Slowly.
In Europe.
After Brussels, could you repeat? After Brussels, what is?
The message of the referendum of UK in Brussels and to the member states.
And to the member churches.
Is EU to work for social solidarity and justice, social justice, for Europe and for the countries suffering of poverty, in order to show our repentance to what we did to them as European Christians through the colonial rule.
Wait, because this is a whole paragraph. It's too long sentence. Our repentance and there's no end.
Poverty, to put the correction before, in order to show our repentance for what we did to them in the past through the colonial rule.
Oh.
For the good of the humanity.
Okay. For what we did
through the colonial rule. You see the 3 threats for the humanity: poverty, to explain a little, poverty, violation of human rights, and climate change crisis. They are related today to what happened when Christianity was divided. And so my attention here, as in the past, the World Council of Churches and the National Council of Churches, they are the ones who play this important role to change the policies of their countries, to protect the people there. We have to carry on these policies as a uniqueness of the church, how to protect the future
Okay.
generations,
Okay.
and no compromise with the policies of our states. Even UK was out of the European Union before, in the sense that when the European Union had a position in the Security Council, UK
Metropolitan.
follow other policies in the...
Please.
Thank you.
Okay. Bishop
Martin Hein, I'm speaking German. Mr. Moderator, ich bin absolut gegen diese Ergänzung. Wir wissen nicht, ob wir in der Lage sind, die Botschaft dieses Referendums zu beurteilen. Ich habe einen ganz anderen Eindruck. Die Hauptbotschaft ist, dass man sich in Großbritannien sehr stark gegen den Bürokratismus in Brüssel gewandt hat und dass man darauf gepocht hat, nationale Rechte stärker berücksichtigt zu bekommen. Wenn wir unsere Affekte gegen die Europäische Union mit diesem Absatz ausdrücken, hat das überhaupt nichts mit dem Referendum insgesamt zu tun. Deswegen plädiere ich dafür, den Satz zu streichen und mit dem Votum von Christopher Hill, das genau die Konsequenzen ausdrückt, zu schließen.
Thank you. I support this, yes. So your cards, yeah, it's okay. Microphone, what is 3?
Thank you, moderator. I think this is sort of a point of order, and I have a critical question. If you look into the time that we use in plenary, we use so much time in public issue, and this is actually the third time that we are discussing Brexit. Last time we discussed it, we used 1 hour for Brexit and 10 minutes for religion and violence. So I just want to say to the fellowship here that we also have to use time on program and finance and also the rest of the public issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Now come back to what the Metropolitan suggested. Is deleted. Okay. Just a little correction. No correction. After the name of Bishop Right Reverend Christopher Hill, that is KCVODD. People does not know what does mean that. Could you write in the full letters, please? Did you understand? Yeah, but nobody knows what is KCVO. Please write to the whole letters. Because this is addressed to people who are not familiar sometimes. Huh? Yeah?
What can delete it?
You want to delete?
I think a suggestion is to delete what's after his surname.
Okay, delete it. Okay. And the last one? For the last, I don't think. Your cards, okay. For the whole document, with the amendments, corrections. Okay, it was received. The second one.
We'll turn now to the document on Puerto Rico, Gen Pub 05.8. Come on screen.
Will come to the screen. Okay.
A call for solidarity and action for Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is facing a serious financial and economic crisis and currently has a debt of more than $70 billion US dollars that it cannot afford to repay. The current crisis has been years in the making and is not limited solely to the public debt overhang. At the core of the current predicament is a deteriorated development model and economic institutions that have hindered sustainable growth. The financial crisis is affecting millions of people and causing schools to close and placing basic needs such as healthcare and other public services at risk. Puerto Rico continues to suffer from the consequences of colonialism, racial disparities, inequalities, and poverty. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States. The island is an unincorporated territory that is neither a federal state nor an independent country, and the ambiguous status has proved to be one of the main obstacles to effectively addressing the dire economic straits people are facing and has been detrimental to the economic affairs of the island. As a non-self-governing territory, Puerto Rico cannot file for bankruptcy, nor has the options of a state as constituted by the laws of the United States of America. And unlike sovereign nations such as Greece, it can't seek emergency assistance from the International Monetary Fund. Puerto Rico had the capacity to file bankruptcy up until 1984, when Congress passed an amendment to the Federal Bankruptcy Code to exclude Puerto Rico from filing Chapter 9, the section that would have allowed doing it. The country's political status places it at a disadvantage and infringes on its right to self-determination at a time of dire crisis. That is why Puerto Rico has asked the US Congress to give it extraordinary powers to reduce its debt outside of bankruptcy. The island is facing a massive migration wave to the United States. Many Puerto Ricans have left the island and family behind as an act of desperation due to the dire economic situation, unemployment, and escalating violence. A great number have moved to the state of Florida. Sadly, many of the people that were murdered in the Orlando shooting were Puerto Ricans that had migrated to the US in the hopes of finding better livelihood opportunities. Churches in Puerto Rico are struggling to provide aid, such as shelter and food, to the poorest and most vulnerable families. However, they have been mobilizing communities to advocate for political solution to the crisis, including a call for a national dialogue with different sectors of society. The Puerto Rico Council of Churches is urging the government to carry out an audit of its debt in order to better define strategies to overcome the crisis and promote sustainable development. The WCC calls the US government to play a catalytic role on these fronts and at the same time reminds policymakers that the real objective of fiscal and economic reforms is to protect the well-being of all Puerto Ricans, especially the most vulnerable in their society. The WCC stands in solidarity with the plight of the Puerto Rican people and calls the Congress of the United States to enact a rescue plan urgently. The WCC also recognizes that Puerto Rico is also facing a migration crisis. In its pilgrimage of justice and peace, WCC invites its member churches to stand beside Puerto Rico and in solidarity with faith communities and leaders in the island and the diaspora as it faces a devastating historic financial crisis. We pray for churches, faith communities, and people of goodwill as they struggle to sustain life and journey through uncertain times.
Thank you for the reading. Let's come back at the beginning again. Any comments for paragraph 1? Your cards? It's okay. Paragraph 2? No comments. Your cards, please. Thank you. The third paragraph, the island. Your cards. Thank you. Churches in Puerto Rico. Your cards. Thank you. The WC calls.
Moderator, I know
Yes.
that this is the first time that we are mentioning the WCC, so that needs to be put in full in that paragraph.
It's the first time. Yes, okay. The WCC.
So the World Council of Churches with WCC in brackets.
Yes. Anne, microphone 3.
Moderator, I'm not actually sure where this goes, but it seems to me one of the issues the WCC has been grappling with is economic injustice. While I welcome this document, it makes absolutely no mention of vulture funds that have swept in and actually taken advantage of the economic situation and the inability of Puerto Rico to declare bankruptcy. If those funds that have come in and bought up this distressed debt are able to cash out, it's an incredible exercise of economic injustice. I don't know whether vulture funds should be mentioned in the first paragraph, the third paragraph, this paragraph, but it seems to me that the statement lacks a little bit of the power it could in naming the economic injustice that has led to this. Thank you.
You have a concrete proposal or?
Given that this is the first reading on the document, I don't know whether things will come back, but it needs to be in there somewhere. Maybe the first paragraph, maybe the third, maybe right here. Given that this is the first reference to the World Council of Churches, we can recall our work for economic justice globally and specifically reference vulture funds.
Okay. We note that then. Microphone 4, please.
Yes, I want to speak to the fourth paragraph. The fourth paragraph there, I wonder if we have evidence of the sentence that reads, sadly, many of the people that were murdered in the Orlando shooting were Puerto Ricans. Do we have evidence? Okay.
Yes. Microphone 3.
As this goes back to the, June Taunton, sorry, American Baptist Churches in the USA, and a member. As this goes back to the committee, I'm sort of with Ann about, I don't know where it goes, but I'd like to see it in there. Naming the issue of the explosives that we have left on Vieques Island so that they can never develop that, and that would help them in their own economy if we could get the bombs out and they could use that space for building hotels or whatever.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
Yeah, please. As I see that the name of the WCC, which this document comes out of it, goes in paragraph number 6, is mentioned. I think that it will be nice to see that we shift the name to the first paragraph, like saying that the World Council of Churches, WCC, is, in a way shows solidarity to express, shows, expressing its solidarity with Puerto Rico in facing so-and-so.
Where? Just the beginning?
In the beginning, shifting the name to the beginning, that will be fitting much better to see that this document really comes of the WCC, and instead of having the name coming to the 6th paragraph.
Yeah. You agree on that, to your cards to have something at the beginning? I see very little. What are the others? Please show your cards. Proposal of His Eminence. Okay, the group will look at that, and then we see. Yes, Father Jacobus, please.
Thank you, Your Eminence. If I could just give a suggestion for the mentioning of vulture foundations. Perhaps we're on the 3rd paragraph, the 3rd sentence down. It says, the country's political status places it at a disadvantage, susceptible to predatory lending. I think we could add, making it susceptible to predatory lending.
Could you read slowly, then they can...
Yes.
Please.
The country's political status...
After disadvantages, comma,
making it susceptible.
You follow, please?
No, no.
After disadvantages, not state. Yes? Making, continue, please.
It's susceptible to predatory lending. Susceptible.
Yes, and then? To
predatory lending.
Predatorial.
Predatory.
Yes.
Why? Yeah. Lending.
Lending.
Lending. Lending.
Yes.
And infringes on its. And infringing or infringing. I don't know. Then that would be a grammar issue. Predatory lending, infringing on its right to self-determination.
Making this susceptible to lending.
Okay. And another, just a point of clarification on the fourth paragraph.
No,
down.
let's finish with that.
Oh,
First of all.
sorry.
If it's acceptable, this edition, first of all, your cards, please. There is a blue. Yes.
I think you wanted that "and" removed from lending and the infringing.
Remove what?
And
Lending?
that's that
Yes.
"and." Yeah, no, the
end, yes.
That's correct.
Predatory, lending, comma, infringe. Okay, it's acceptable?
And
now the whole thing cut is now with the whole paragraph with this edition. You show your cards, please. Thank you. You have another?
And just one quick one, just in the fourth paragraph, the island is facing a massive migration wave to the continental United States.
To the continental?
Yeah, because it'd be going from Trondheim to Norway. Thank you.
Is acceptable? Do you accept that? To add to the continental United States. Your cards? Okay. Thank you. Where we are now? We are on the World Council of Churches. We have done that. The paragraph which begins with the World Council of Churches. Your cards. The next, the WCC also. The last one, yes. Yeah. Your cards for the last one, please. Thank you. Then the document goes a little back to the committee. Yeah?
We just need to reword the first paragraph to include WCC.
And what Anne McCool said also.
Yeah.
And you come back again.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue. The next. Thank you.
I asked the plenary to go to the document GenPub 05.06.
The last document approved by consensus. It was not yet approved.
It's not approved.
It is, they've typed.
The document goes back to the committee and comes again.
On the document, let it bring it back. They've typed approved by consensus.
I tested. I have done that. Yeah. Thank you. Now, document 06. Please, Thomas, read it. Ah, it's not here. You can read because there are copies, and then the text is coming to screen to save time. Please.
Okay, so 06.
Yes.
Minute on Human Trafficking is the first reading. The World Council of Churches has a long history in considering human trafficking in a number of contexts. This issue constitutes a serious violation of human rights that affects a great number of individuals and nations, allowing them to be treated as little more than disposable commodities. It is largely a result of social and economic disparity that increases the vulnerability of vast numbers of people, including undocumented migrants. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery, and it's even more perverse because it's often assumed that it doesn't exist, that it is abolished, that it belongs to the past. As a result, human trafficking is today almost invisible. This commodification means that people are abused and deprived of their liberty. They suffer daily sexual exploitation, labor exploitation, organ trafficking, and the sale of their children. All have faces, names, and stories. This could happen to anyone in situations of vulnerability. This issue is at the current time causing particular pain to our brothers and sisters in Latin America, which is both a point of origin for trafficking and is affecting thousands of people in that region who live with this cruel reality. One of the key challenges of the phenomenon of human trafficking in Latin America is to measure accurately the scope of an illicit market. At this time, the number of trafficked people is projected to be around 2.5 million. However, it is estimated that for each victim identified, there are another 20 people unidentified. And it's unfortunate that half of trafficking victims are under 18 years, according to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Although the churches in the Latin American region are aware of the realities, it is unclear how many other people are in slavery conditions around them. This is a global phenomenon that affects not only the Latin American territory. As part of our pilgrimage of justice and peace, we seek to defend the vulnerable and oppressed. As the prophet Isaiah states, we are called to untie, release, and free the brokenhearted, to feed, shelter, and clothe them, and not to turn away from our own flesh and blood. Therefore, we are challenged to a paradigm shift, to deconstruct and disarm this destructive model that leads to the oppression and death of vulnerable individuals. In this regard, we note and affirm the outcome of the gathering of religious leaders convened on 2 December 2014 at the Vatican to challenge this modern slavery. And now we go to actions. The WC Central Committee meet in Trondheim, Norway, 22-28 June 2006. Therefore, 1. Reaffirms its commitment to stand in solidarity with trafficked persons and their families. 2. Calls for its member churches to partner with other civil society organizations, governmental and intergovernmental agencies to work towards combating human trafficking. And 3. Urges its member churches to join this challenge and, inspired by the gospel, to contribute to the awareness and prevention of human trafficking in each of our areas of mission, and thus to advocate through the institutions and organizations to which we belong.
Thank you, Thomas. This is the first reading of the Minute on Human Trafficking. Paragraph 1. Any comments, paragraph 1? Your cards, please. Paragraph 2. So your cards. Paragraph 3.
May I? Paragraph 3.
The moderator has to say something.
Moderator, I think paragraph 3 seems to limit unnecessarily the issue to Latin America when we in fact have it in Africa, in Asia, and so that formulation needs to be broadened. And North America, yeah, okay, I saw.
We can
Moderator.
say in many parts of the world or something like that, without to mention the areas, metropolitan.
I like to improve the proposal of our moderator. After Latin America, I like to write, and in countries suffering of poverty and conflict, like in Asia, Africa, and Middle East.
Poverty, yes, and then?
And conflict.
And conflict?
Like in Asia, Africa, and Middle East.
Moderator.
Yes.
May I-
Just to finish. Wait. Africa and Middle East.
Because we include that the victims of the human trafficking come from probably suffering of poverty in relation with the colonial rule, and then in countries where there are conflicts.
That's Thomas, yes.
Moderator, I think it's a problem of this issue was deferred in the Central Committee 2014, which and the idea was that it was specific to Latin America. We acknowledge that human trafficking is something that happens all around the world, but we had an extensive discussion on the fact that in Latin America that's a special problem regarding this issue.
Moderator, can I just plead with the Public Issues Committee that when we met 2 years ago, this may have been a very specific issue to Latin America, but today organ harvesting is a major issue in Africa and human trafficking, so Middle East. So I just wonder whether that might help us to limit ourselves to the 2-year decision last time, but it's up to our wisdom.
There is a blue hand. You want to speak? A
Thank
blue
you,
card.
Moderator Ann McCool, Church of Antioch. I just note that in the very next paragraph, we say this is a global phenomenon that affects not only the Latin America territory.
Where? Which paragraph?
The very next paragraph, it says exactly this. This paragraph is Latin America. The next one shows the
This
global.
is a global phenomenon. This is. Yeah, but we must be specific. Archbishop, want to speak? Otherwise said. Which is the blue card? Metropolitan?
Maybe the solution is to leave the reference to all the continents we refer, and the next paragraph to say, although this is a global phenomenon, without to mention Latin America. But previous is very important. I agree with our moderator.
Okay.
That is very, very important, at least, to emphasize Africa, because even if we get the statistics, the number one number of the people suffering of human trafficking come from Africa.
Okay, was clear. What is the proposal in the follow paragraph to?
To leave the mention, when we mentioned some continents before, and in this paragraph where there is again reference to Latin America, to emphasize this is a global phenomenon.
This is there. It's okay. It's there.
From the beginning, it's not necessary to put again Latin America.
Okay, let's come back to the previous paragraph, which starts this issue. Microphone 4, please.
Emily Evans, United Church in Australia. I want to draw your attention to the final sentence when you talk about half of trafficking victims are under 18 years. It's also drawn to my attention that in the same quote from UN Office on Drugs and Crime, there's a statistic that 70% are women and girls. So I would like that included. So after? Yep, and 70% are women and girls.
18 years and 70%.
Yep.
Are
70% are women
are
and girls.
women and girls. You accept this? Your cards, please. Because, thank you. Microphone 1, Father Jacobus.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Now that we just saw this
No se oye.
change of the 70%, perhaps it needs to go before and it is unfortunate that 70% are women and girls, and half of trafficking victims are under 18, because then it looks like it's 70% of the half. That's 18 years and younger. And then another issue, just
No,
in the
not jump to the other issue.
Sorry.
What is the proposal now?
So where it says, and 70% are women and girls, cut that and paste it. However, it is estimated that for each victim identified, there are 20 people unidentified. 70% of, it is unfortunate that 70% of victims are women and girls, and half.
Wait, slowly, because
and it is
I get to type.
unfortunate that 70%.
It is unfortunate that, let's copy and paste.
Maybe unfortunate is not necessary, but.
Then how he reads now. There are another 20 people identified, and it's unfortunate that 70% are women and girls.
Okay, okay, maybe unidentified, comma, 70% are women and girls, and unfortunately half of trafficking victims are under 18 years old.
Yeah.
So where it says from unidentified to 70%, remove that and put it, yeah, and unfortunately, no, probably continue that, unfortunately.
Identify that 70% are women and girls, and?
Is unfortunately necessary? And unfortunately, half of trafficking victims are under 18 years old or of age.
And half of trafficking victims are under 80 years, according. It's okay now, eh?
Yeah, could we change the unfortunately to sadly? No, worse. I'm thinking of unfortunately in Greek terms, and I don't think it would be.
After girls.
Yeah.
And
After girls and sadly. Yeah. Half of trafficking victims are under 18 years of age.
And sadly, half of trafficking. Huh?
So at this time, the number of trafficked people is projected to be around 2.5 million. However, it is estimated that for each victim identified, there are another 20 people unidentified. 70 not that, after before 70. Comma, 70% are women and girls, and sadly, half of trafficking victims are under 18 years of age. According to the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime. And I would also like to support the initial change, something to be done about the Latin America, because although it may perhaps be an issue right now in Latin America or Africa, I do think Europeans play a role in this, and the money has to come from somewhere supporting these networks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this paragraph? Microphone 4.
Thank you, Moderator. Alan Abernethy from Church of Ireland. I think the word sadly isn't any better than unfortunate. I think we need to say something like especially devastating. I think this is just absolutely appalling. We need to strengthen that as best we can.
Okay, then let's change sadly and especially devastating. Okay, microphone 2. Devastating. Yeah, it's okay now.
Gracias, moderador. Yo, en primer lugar, quiero agradecer porque este tema se ha levantado aquí dentro del Consejo. Solamente me quiero referir que en un principio, como nosotros, como Latinoamérica, lo presentó, es como trata y tráfico humano. ¿Por qué? Porque son dos delitos de distinta naturaleza jurídica. El tráfico humano es un delito contra el Estado y contra las leyes migratorias. Entre tanto, que la trata de personas es un delito contra los derechos humanos. Lo podemos ver incluso en la página de la web que tiene Interpol, así como en la Convención de las Naciones Unidas contra la Delincuencia Organizada Transnacional. Ahí se contemplan estos dos delitos. Uno en el protocolo referido a la trata de personas y un segundo protocolo contra el tráfico ilícito de migrantes por tierra, mar y tierra, que es el tráfico humano. Entonces, lo único que nosotros como Latinoamérica estamos solicitando es que se escriban en inglés, o sea, el título con los dos términos, trata y tráfico de personas, porque son dos delitos diferentes, jurídicamente hablando. Gracias.
Okay, do you note that?
Actually, the first draft that that received from Latin America was written trata e tráfico, so it was a problem that in the middle of translation something happened. So since human trafficking and migrant smuggling are concepts that overlap and it's basically more or less the same problem, we could happily include that.
Okay, you do that. Microphone 3.
Thank you, Moderator. Paragraph 3, that one which begins with this issue, just as it has been highlighted, if we keep the insertion that in countries suffering poverty and conflict, that suggests that the motivation of this is poverty and conflict, whereas the motivation is by rich, greedy people.
Yeah. Your cards, you agree?
So I would suggest that we remove suffering, countries suffering poverty and conflict,
and replace?
And replace it with, and in other countries like Africa and Middle East, and other countries like Africa and Middle East.
We delete suffering, poverty, and conflict, you said?
Yes, Moderator,
Remove that.
because that suggests that those are the motivations when they are not.
Jennifer Haddad Mosher of the Orthodox Church in America. I'd like to build on that last suggestion because trafficking is increasingly a problem in the United States as well and other developed nations. In our cases, it's often young people who are marginal to society because of family disruption or issues of addiction who are taken advantage of, but they are taken advantage of by the same networks. So I would sort of further the suggestion to remove suffering, poverty, and conflict, and also just we should make that net of countries included as wide as possible.
Yeah. Thank you. Microphone 1. You want to speak? You stand there. The lady? No? Another point. Okay, microphone 1.
Thank you, Moderator. Michel Charbonnier, Valdesian Church. I will speak in English. Along the same line, I'm confused because in the second paragraph we say that human trafficking is especially problematic because we assume that it does not exist anymore. And then in the third, we list countries where it exists and we leave out other countries. I am afraid this problem is pervasive, as we also write.
Okay.
And therefore we should find a way, because for instance, I mean, Europe is not only the place where the money comes from, but we have human trafficking inside Europe. So I think we have to...
Okay.
Thank you.
This will be noticed by the committee. You want to speak on that? Please.
Ray Costa, Presbyterian Church of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Moderator, I believe the insertion needs to come out entirely. It does not reflect the reality. Human trafficking is right around the world, including New Zealand, Australia, all of those places. The degree may differ, but human dignity is the same in all parts of the world. I think we should just leave the paragraph as it was presented by the Public Issues Committee and delete the insertion at that stage. Somewhere in the document too, I do think we need to talk, we've talked about human rights, but we haven't talked about human dignity. It would be good to have something of that added in as well.
Okay, this will be noticed. You want to speak, please? The lady who stands there. This is for this point, for paragraph this?
Same paragraph.
Please.
I appreciate that we have admitted it as a global phenomenon. And after admitting, we have included only 2 other continents, Asia and Africa. As my other brother was commenting, it's a universal problem. So specifically, if we mention certain countries or certain continents, I think it's not fair and it's not right. And the figure you have mentioned about the statistics, at this time, the number of trafficked people is projected to be around 2.5 million. I think it's a wrong number. It could have been a number based on the statistics available in the context of Latin America alone.
Okay.
I consider that number is wrong, and it has to be, if you are specifying it, it has to be a correct number.
Okay, thank you. Of course, this is the first reading. The whole document will go back to the committee. Let's continue. Although the churches, the next paragraph. You want to speak, please?
Yo quiero agregar, bueno, mi nombre, voy a hablar en español.
Yeah, we have to put the...
Eso.
Okay, go on, please.
Mi nombre es Ana de Medios, vengo de la Iglesia de Discípulos de Cristo de Argentina. Lo que yo quiero agregar es, me levanté muy pronto, diríamos, el comité, por consiguiente, el Comité Central reitera, apela, insta. Yo pondría otro punto. Estar atentos las iglesias y el Consejo Mundial de Iglesias de cuidar a las personas y organizaciones que trabajan en este tema, ya que muchas veces se deben enfrentar con verdaderas mafias.
There's not stuff? Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other comments on the last paragraph? Then the Central Committee, the 3 reaffirms, calls and urges. Any comments to that? You don't have any comments on that? What the Central Committee proposed? No? Thank you. Do you agree now the document will go back to the committee and will come for a second reading? Thank you very much. It's okay. Now the time is past 1 o'clock. We continue? We stop? We come to the afternoon? Okay, we close this session and we'll continue to the next session this afternoon for the public issue statement.